Hello and welcome to the session of International Marketing Strategy. We are in Module 5 and we have seen distribution, we have seen pricing, various nomenclatures involved with pricing. Today we will be seeing another aspect related to pricing, and that is known as price escalation. What is price escalation? The cost of the goods varying proportionately is known as the price escalation or cost variation. Generally, what happens is let us take an example for a Christmas order. Okay, so the garment manufacturers, brands are they depend on countries like India and Asian countries for their products. They give the designs and all our units which are into garment manufacturing units. Based on the design they send, they stitch and then send it back to the respective brands, the countries, if they are from England or if they are from Europe or from US. So this entire process would take about 6 months time. For a Christmas order, which they would want to put up on the first week of December, the order will be placed during June. Okay, so during June they will send the design and then the material, and then after that the stitching will have to start. Maybe 4 different designs in 3 different sizes, total order of about 10 lakh pieces. So this entire process would take about 4 to 5 months time. And so in this period there can be very many reasons as to why prices would or cost would fluctuate. Okay, so COVID is such an excellent example of how prices went bonkers. I mean, airlines which were costing so much, they are no more into business anymore. Every single business has changed. So the macro environment has a lot of say on the price cost fluctuations. So what is price escalation? International price escalation refers to the problem for the end user, because it's especially very pronounced in international business, because there are multiple layers of distribution channel, margins, tariffs. In every nodal point there is an additional cost, and so the market, the price, the end user price becomes very high. International price escalation means that the retail price of export market may be creating, I mean, it will start becoming very high. So we will not be competitive enough. So what are the various causes of price escalation? One is inflation. Inflation is when there is too much of money in the which rapid inflation is too much of money in the market. The seller's price must be related to the cost of the goods. Here the price becomes very ballooned up, very puffed up. Very typical example for inflation is in India is the market for gold and market for real estates. Remember, it's very high. The prices go on so much because the demand is also high, so they keep escalating the prices. Inflation. Deflation, on the other hand, is when the prices become low. Today you see, like, because of COVID, many companies are planning to have their people sitting in the house and working, IT companies. So what happened? There's a huge deflation in the market for commercial space. Okay, so like this, there are many reasons why there is inflation and deflation. For example, when the crop is very good, the food items, inflation, deflation, like this, the cost goes difference. Okay, there's a difference in the cost. Exchange rate fluctuation. Currency value keeps changing because of political environment. So even that causes difference in cost and in turn prices. So what is inflation and what is deflation? Deflation is when price declines. Money increases purchasing power and it takes less units of currency to purchase the same unit of good or service. Deflation. Let's explain now what it means. It takes less units of currency. The same 5-star hotel which was costing 8,000 rupees today is costing 4,000 rupees. Right? So this is a typical example because of COVID. All the hotels, rooms, because there is no hotel booking, they have gone vacant. So the prices have decreased. So it's a deflation. Look at this, inflation. Money loses its purchasing power and it takes more units of currency to purchase the same unit of goods or service. Inflation. What is the example for this? Your hospital services. Today, if you are sick, you have to go to the hospital, you have to spend more than the earlier times. Why? Because patients are already there. COVID patients are increasing by the day. So even if you are a non-COVID patient, you have to pay more. All the charges are more. ICU charges are more. Right? So inflation. So in one area there is a deflation, in another area there is inflation. All the other costs that has inflated, for example, for about 4 to 6 weeks, all the essential goods like rice, dal, everything was sold at a higher price, vegetables higher price, because of erratic supply chain was cut. So you understood deflation and inflation, right? So prices, reasons for price escalation, cost of exporting. Okay. Number 2, taxes, tariffs, administrative cost. So if you look at the medical market, the taxes and tariffs are slashed for the time being. So this changes the cost, the price escalation or inflation. Inflation, deflation. Change in pricing, change in costing. Change in cost leads to price differentiation. Exchange rate fluctuation and varying currency values, middleman and transportation costs. All these variables change and hence there is a this is the reason for price escalation. Next, so look at this example for price escalation. Okay, this is X works. What is X works? Yesterday we had seen in the pricing nomenclature, X works is X factory. Only whatever is the cost of producing the goods is paid by the seller. The rest of the cost is paid by the buyer. X work price is, and then price escalation 0. So which means production cost is the same amount. Exchange rate adjustment has gone up. Shipping rate has gone up in 6 months. Customs fees has gone up in 6 months. Distribution margins, they are not working with the same margins. Now they want more margins. So there is more. Inspection and accessory has gone more. Added options. So final sticker price. So if you look at this, this is a typical example that they have worked out at export price escalation. At every point there is a change in pricing in 6 months time. So just an example of how where are the various places in which the price can go up. Right. The next aspect is managing cost. So, what would you do if there is a pricing, if there is, a price escalation or cost escalation? What will you do as a person who is exporting? Rearrange the distribution channel. See if there are any competitive way to do it. Okay, if it is, if you are sending by road, definitely seaways are cheaper than roadways. See if you can use the seaways. See if you can use public transport instead of private transport. Like this, for example, sending lorries, it's costlier than sending in railways. Okay, so like this, see if you can juggle around with distribution channels. Okay, eliminate costly features so you get to the basic product, don't have too many additions. This is the very typical time now where you don't need product extension, line extensions. Basic product would be sufficient enough. Downsizing the product. Assemble the product in a market which is far cheaper than the current assembling point. So if you find nowadays, if you look at Southeast Asian market, Indonesia, Thailand are becoming much more competitive than India. So all the garment manufacturers are going either to Bangladesh. You should see the US market and the UK market and the Canadian market filled with Bangladesh clothes. So essentially, because the same t-shirt that's being done in India, you can get it at 40% cheaper from if it is from Bangladesh. So adapt the product for to escape tariff and levies. So this is another aspect. Approaches. What will you do? Same thing explained. Lower the cost of goods. How will you lower? See if you can get a cheaper supplier. See if you can reduce the weight, labor, assembly chain, make it faster. Okay, like that. Manufacturing in the third country. Same points are explained, given differently. Eliminating costly functional features, lowering overall product quality slightly a little bit so that it is not very visible. Even by not introducing very high-end product, it will help, right? So lowering tariffs. Tariffs is by the government. So they will classify and say we will have for all essential goods, we will not have any tariffs. Now for medical products, they are not having tariffs because countries should be able to very easily supply protection equipment for doctors, nurses, like that. So next is modifying distribution cost. How can you modify? Shorter channels, reduce, eliminate middlemen. So what is happening now is all the farmers, are directly coming to Bangalore and distributing vegetables, fruits, and grains to the big apartments. So what are they doing? They are eliminating middlemen. So like this, using foreign trade zones. Foreign trade zones are manufacturing zones where you have incentives. They don't pay for taxes. They have 5 years, 10 years tax SOPs. Okay, products are sent to foreign countries. So you would see these are in all the countries, states in India. You have even in Karnataka, you've got a whole lot of foreign trade zones. Even in Whitefield, in many places, you have zones. These are places, export zones promoted by the government, state government, and then when they promote it, They say whichever company is starting manufacturing here, you will not be having to pay GST, local taxes, so many incentives they give. Okay. The last thing is dumping. Dumping is when you just get the, supposing, like for example, there are, you have manufactured batteries. This happened actually between India and China. These small batteries for torches, they had built that, and then in tons. So you have 5 shiploads of those batteries, amounting to about 30 crore batteries are there. What will you do? If you keep it, by the day, the shelf life of battery is say 3 months or 4 months. If you keep it, it's going to go waste, and plus you are occupying space, plus you have to dump it. If you dumping it, it is hazard to the environment. These batteries, no, inside the batteries you have got all the chemicals. So even for dumping, it is a problem. So what do? Marginal cost, manufacturing cost you get, you just go and distribute it to some third world country, to Tanzania or Zimbabwe or Namibia or Angola or places like that, for 1 rupee or 2 rupee. They will buy it, use it for 2-3 days, throw it. This is what the China did for India, to India. They dumped these torch batteries in tons, and it was sold for 1 rupee. And India took a case against through WTO, and then they won the case. Okay, so this is dumping. Process of export we don't have to do now. Right, so you understood price escalation. What are the various, what is price escalation? What are the causes of price escalation? And what is inflation and deflation? And what are the various managerial solutions? How you will manage price escalation if you are in exports, imports. So then, so next part is dumping. With dumping, you will be finishing this module. Okay. Now let us see what is dumping. So dumping is a situation in international pricing discrimination where the price of the product when sold in the imported country is less than the price, okay, when sold in the exporting. So supposing, China is sending battery to India. It is selling it for 1 rupee. Indian batteries are 13 rupees. So this is what it is. The product when sold in the importing country is less than the price of the same product when sold in the market. Okay. So everybody knows you, if 1 rupee is too low, but this is exactly what happened with the Chinese batteries. So dumping in its legal sense means exports of goods to a country to other country at a price lower than its normal value. So why would you do it? As I told you, if they have 30 crore batteries in China, what would they do with, and how will they disperse the produced items? Why would they take the economical, if at all they can get at least the cost price, why not? Right? And there is a dumping cost also. If they keep it in their own country, even to dispose it, it is an economical strain, because ecological factors, they will be spoiling their environment. So the best is to recover whatever cost that comes, and they would send it to a country, any other country. at whatever price they get. This is dumping. So type of dumping. Persistent dumping is when continuously they do the same thing. Temporary dumping happens when it's a one time scenario where you by mistake or by there is a huge order that came in and got cancelled, so there are too many batteries. Okay, so predatory is when you want the foreign company to suffer. Predatory. Persistent dumping, predatory dumping, sporadic. Sporadic is when it's not planned. Suddenly it became too much, so I'm just selling. Predatory is temporary and then below the cost, and then what you're doing is driving the foreign producer out of business. Okay, this is what happened in the case of tiger prawns. I think we have analyzed that when the prawns, the US government through their boards, seafood boards, they took a case and then said India is giving prawns at a rate which is lower. We had to explain to them in the court, saying that we are able to manufacture it or grow prawns at a rate which is lower because our industry is more home based. Okay, and we have more population, so we are able to bring that forward. So the forms of dumping. So if there is dumping, what can happen is the country can raise a flag, red flag, and they can go and file a case against the company which is against the country which is dumping and win the case. So objectives. Why will they do it? To find a place in the foreign market, to sell surplus commodities which doesn't have much shelf life. What will you do keeping it? Let me get some costs. Expansion of industry. Okay. New trade relations. So you want to somehow capture the market, so you give them at a lower rate, and subsequent 2-3 export orders you hike the rate. So objectives of dumping. Why? Because the first question anybody will ask is, why sell at a price which is low when you can actually get profits? Not all situations are congenial for you to make profits. Okay. Effects on importing country. So what happens is, cheaper rate of goods and services available in the country. Okay. So we are getting batteries at a rate that is cheaper. It helps to change the people's taste, which is beneficial. It creates a competition in the market. These are the positive effects if the product is good. Negative effects. Less sales in the country and quantity of goods. Like for instance, because you get batteries for 1 rupee, our indigenous battery sellers, manufacturers suffer. That's the first thing. Domestic industry is unable to bear with the competition. And what happens is it becomes a monopoly. This is exactly what is happening with Chinese goods around the world. Around the world, they are becoming monopoly in a lot of manufacturing products. Every single product, whether you call it toys or cars or components of everything, is manufactured in China. End product can be assembled here, but the components are manufactured in China. So they are almost becoming a monopoly. Reduced profits. So what happens because of dumping? profits go haywire. Decline in productivity. The home country, people will start saying, anyways, we are getting cheaper product from the other country. Why would you be manufacture? Reduced return on investment. People will start not go into small and medium scale business. They'll say, anyway, we are not getting any profits. Why should we? Adverse effect of inventory, employment, everything goes bad. So this is the same aspect. Anti-dumping measures. So what the WTO does is, World Trade Organization, they ensure that countries don't dump some standard products to other countries. Okay. To stop dumping, the importing country imposes tariffs, anti-dumping tariffs. Okay. And they hike the import duties. Okay. And ensure that people don't come and disturb the local production. One more thing they do is import quota. Import quota means, for example, for batteries, I have a quota. More than 10 lakh batteries a month you cannot import. Okay, you cannot import batteries that are used for household goods. You can only import batteries that are for commercial use in huge businesses, in huge factories. So this way you would have a measure of control. Import quota, that's it's called quota. Restricting by numbers, restricting by design. Import embargo. Import embargo is, you would have read in the newspaper very often, that the US has put embargo on oil from Iran, from Korea. Okay. So these are typical scenarios, like import and export is so much used as a tool for international affairs. Okay, so moment two countries are warring, then they would say import embargo. We will not buy anything from that product, from that country. So when fighting North Korea, South Korea, this is a typical thing. US will often say, no, we are not going to buy anything from Korean made. Iran. Okay. So voluntary export restraint. Voluntary export restraint is like what we are doing right now. Let us be self-sufficient. Make in India. Made in India. Use Indian products. Become self-sufficient. Have all the ancillary products produced, manufactured here. Like that. So this is as far as dumping is concerned. So with this, your module 5 is through. Okay. So module 5 typically had portions of what is supply chain, or what is logistics, what is the various channel management, and then followed by what is pricing, and then in pricing you had what are the types of costs in international pricing, and then you also had a variety of nomenclatures which is used in import pricing terminologies. Then followed by that you had the price escalation and dumping. Thank you very much.